another step towards, as you put it, democratizing video. So I think that is certainly one step that we're taking. The second step is looking at options, multiple different options, cheaper hardware options, for example, which can be used by the small and medium enterprises in so basically getting them the video codecs at a low cost. So I think that's if you saw the announcement on October 8th, which we just spoke about, one of the products in there is the Group 300 systems with the acoustic camera, very, very low cost option. So that in itself takes the traditional video conferencing to the SMB. It becomes more affordable for them. So I think therefore one is a service provider channel. The second certainly is making video hardware more affordable. The third is also looking at our traditional distribution structure and making it more accessible to the SME through IT channels, which traditionally service the SMB market space. So that's one. Now, I think as we go beyond that, as cloud access gets launched, the effect of that is that certainly accelerates the video spiral. So the adoption of video in whatever format, whether you're doing Skype, whether you're doing anything else, is certainly the acceleration of the video spiral. As that accelerates, people start getting used to video more and more, and they would still want to have a better experience by devices such as traditional hardware devices, or perhaps even software clients, which companies like Polycom provide.
Do you see this video being the new voice happening outside of work? I think that's when it catches up. How far do you think that is going to happen?
So absolutely. I think the interesting point always is that innovations take place in the consumer space and then start bleeding into the enterprise space.
Right.
So that's always going to happen. And even if you look at Apple as a company, which was always targeted at the consumer space, today you walk into an enterprise and I doubt that you will see people without an iPad.
True.
So consumer innovation certainly bleed into the enterprise space. And our expectation is that video's adoption, even within the consumer space, is certainly going to accelerate. Now, also, when you look at the networks are improving, whether it's a 3G network or the oncoming 4G network and so on and so forth. And the codecs are becoming more and more intelligent so that they can look at, so that they can work on networks which perhaps, are lossy networks, so to speak, and still be able to give good video experience. So certainly, I would say that pretty much everyone that I know today certainly uses Skype as an instance, or uses FaceTime on the iPad, and so on and so forth. So consumer experience is driving the necessity for the enterprises to adopt video within their enterprise space as well. As a consumer, even the fresh, 20-year-olds or 20-somethings who are coming into organizations are all people who are used in one way or another to video, whether it's over iPad, whether it's over Skype, whether it's any which way. When they walk into an enterprise, they probably expect that similar usage can be done in an enterprise. So my expectation is that yes, the consumer acceptability and growing usage of video will also drive a greater spiral in the enterprise space.
I remember watching a movie, a short movie by Dr. Alan Kay and his group, hailed as the father of personal computing. So it was called Fast Forward. And there you have expert systems, people talking to it, voice recognition and video, and ubiquitous computing. How far are we from that paradigm?
So I think we are getting to a point where video is going to become ubiquitous. We are at the threshold, certainly, of video becoming ubiquitous. Video has been held back by expense, by the bandwidth required, and by the kind of products which we had for video. I think certainly that is now a thing of the past. Technology is reaching a point where it is becoming ubiquitous. The goal that Polycom has, the vision that Polycom has, is certainly to make video absolutely ubiquitous. And that, in a sense, I think you've already started seeing in the marketplace. And service providers certainly are one example of entities which are driving video ubiquity, but taking it absolutely to the consumer space, as you said. The amount of downloads that you see now on mobile phones, now this may not necessarily be video conferencing, but what you see as downloads on video phones is all getting to a point where it's video. It's moving from ringtones and so on and so forth to downloadable videos. If I remember correctly, I think about 2/3 of video traffic, or 2/3 of the traffic on the mobile networks is expected to be video in the next 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
So certainly, as you look at that in one shape or form, video is coming to a point where it is ubiquitous. It is, it's part of our lives. Whether you're looking at downloading video, whether you're looking at video conferencing. So absolutely, I think that ubiquity is, is certainly beginning to happen. You spoke about ubiquity of computing. I think that's absolutely already there. From a perspective of, it's a question of definition of what a computer is. A smartphone today is a computer by any stretch of imagination. So look at the number of people using that. So you have, therefore, a computing device in your hand. Or even phones which are not as smart as the ones that we typically think of as smartphones, still have enough computing power. They still access the internet. So in that sense, when you look at that, computing ubiquity has already arrived. And I think the video ubiquity is certainly, we are on the threshold.
What role does video play in your personal life? Can you give us some interesting things that you do with video?
Absolutely. So my daughter is now 4.5 years old. Mm-hmm. And my daughter will not talk to you on the phone in case you try to call her on the phone. So she has, since the age of, I would say, about 2.5 years, been used to video. So at my house, I actually have a small personal telepresence desktop system. So even if I'm in the office, she can talk to me on video. She's learned how to use that device, so we can communicate on video. She knows what an iPad is and how do we do FaceTime on iPad. Mm-hmm. Or certainly, I use a Polycom Real Presence mobile client sitting on my iPad, so I can call from an iPad wherever I am into the personal device at home. It has gone to the extent that my wife, who doesn't have who doesn't have a mobile device with video conferencing on it, cannot talk to my daughter when she is traveling. My daughter will refuse to talk to her because she needs to be able to see who she's talking to in case she's going to have a conversation. So on the phone, it's an absolute no-no. So when you look at that, it's a very interesting thing. It's a child who's getting used to whatever is there at this point. Absolutely. So we're talking about ubiquity. She's seen video and there is no going back. That's essentially what it is.
Whenever I see a good conference room, I naturally, off the shelf in my mind, I expect to see Polycom Starfish. Right. I call it the Starfish,
okay.
Your audio conferencing unit.
Absolutely.
It's ubiquitous.
It's
there almost in every good-looking conference room.
Yes.
Now, how long will it take for your video Starfish, quote unquote, to be on every conference room?
Very interesting. So I think insofar as the phone is concerned, yes, that's absolutely our heritage. That's what Polycom grew out of. And not only do I see it on in every single conference room, interestingly, if you see most of the American TV serials, you will probably find the Polycom phone in every one of those. So it's almost like free advertising for us. But as I said earlier, from a video perspective, video is a little bit different, right? Video may be embedded as an application on your device, so it's not necessarily a hardware device that you're looking at. Now, at the moment, as we said, there are about 2.5 million video conferencing rooms around the world. That's the extent of video conferencing rooms. And of that, about 41% is Polycom. So basically, 4 out of every 10 conference rooms that you walk into globally, they're still Polycom. Now the point is, you don't see the codec. In this room, you don't actually see the codec because the codec is well hidden. It's behind somewhere. What you're supposed to see is just the screens that you're talking to. And you're not necessarily supposed to see the microphones. The microphones here are in the ceiling. So in that sense, a video experience should be such that you're not necessarily seeing the device, you're seeing the other person. Now, video proliferation to a large extent is also going to happen by software. So on your iPad, it's an iPad. So when you're seeing the iPad, you're seeing the iPad. However, a Polycom video conferencing client sits on it as an application which enables that experience for you, which would traditionally have happened from a Polycom-enabled video conferencing room. So I think what you're seeing is the proliferation of video in many formats. So it's a little bit different from this, as you put it, the star-shaped phone. Yeah. But certainly what you'll be seeing is the proliferation of Polycom software video codecs or hardware video codecs in many formats across the world. We don't know in which way people will be using it. It could be sitting on a phone. It could be sitting on a tablet-type device. The tablet-type devices themselves are morphing, right? So I can't predict what the next device will look like. True. But certainly that is where you will find more and more video offerings coming from Polycom.
Very exciting, Neeraj. And I should thank you very much for taking time off and speaking to Bloomberg TV.
Not at all. It's a pleasure for us, and I'm assuming that you've already taken a tour. If not, please do so.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.